Hey, Nam. Great. How are you doing? Awesome. Okay, so if you are watching us, then you will see what is going on. If you're listening to us, well, get ready because we're going to have a fun episode today because we're going to talk about movies that we will never review on our show. That is When Jerry Met Knob movie discussion. And I'm excited. Before we record, we saw our list. I got some questions for my bud Nom and whatnot. So, Nom, the quiet man, the silent protagonist. How do you want to do this?
Jeremy, if you want to get us kicked off, we both got 5 movies, genres, or a series that we don't want to discuss, even on our show. We don't want to watch it again. We don't want to discuss it on our show. So Jeremy's going to start off with his number 1 pick, or number 5, either way, number 1.
The first pick is going to be a classic 2009 film, a movie that set the world on fire, and that is Human Centipede. That is a movie I watched one time. I watched it with this guy here the first time because he was curious about it. I had no intention to watch it. We watched it together. I got what I want out of it, and I don't want to see any more of it. I don't want to see the series whatsoever of it. And for people who don't know, the story about Human Centipede is about a bunch of tourists that gets lost. They get lost somewhere on a road or something like that. Came upon a home, met a weird guy, kind of a mad scientist, weird guy, takes them in, and of course does weird experiments in that begins with 3 people from butt to mouth or ass to mouth. The only thing that was interesting was the shock value, that the fact that people volunteered to do this film. But other than that, it's kind of pointless. It's boring. I just didn't have fun with it anymore. It's a one-time thing for me. Nom?
You know, I was super excited. I was super excited that we might get to watch the Human Centipede. Like, I was really wanting to watch it. Like, I thought the whole ass to mouth thing would be fantastic. But we're not, so it's okay. I'm okay with this.
Real talk?
Jeremy. I am willing to sacrifice this movie for you.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot to me, question mark? Okay.
All right. So we're going to go with my pick, and I'm going to continue off on his because he dropped the whole, it is absolutely gross and nasty. It's nasty.
That's nasty.
Nasty.
And I'm going to drop a whole entire genre for you guys. And not really a genre, but a subgenre of a genre. And that is the murder, torture, porn style movies. And if you don't know what those are, I'll give you some examples. Hostel.
Mm-hmm.
Hostel was one of those movies. The Collectors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The Collectors was one of those movies.
Give him another one.
House of a Thousand Corpses.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
And even The Hills Have Eyes. To me, these movies are not slasher movies. These movies are just pure gore and murder for gore and murder's sake. Like, I don't feel like there is anything more to it than just if you want to watch gore and murder, and that's just not something that appeals to me.
Yeah.
And that's not something I want to talk about. That's definitely not something that I want to watch again.
Nothing there. It's really just people being sacrificed for the sake of entertainment that is gory.
Exactly. So it's like I'm gonna cut it out. Cut it out.
Cut it. How do you do it? How did Joey do it?
Cut it out.
Thank you. Cut it out.
Yeah. It's whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Next pick is from a director that I want to admire. But sometimes he just misses for me. He fooled me. And in a way, I still enjoyed 300 when he decided to take matters in his own hands, doing the whole shebang, direct, produce, write all this. I realized the one thing he lacks, in my opinion, is just writing. And that movie will be Sucker Punch. And that's a 2011 film. It's a movie starring a girl that goes by the name of Baby Doll, a young woman who is committed in a mental institute. As she collects items she needs to escape, she enters a series of fantasy worlds where she and her fellow inmates are strong. That plot sounds fine But the fact that they decided to use these fantasies as a way to get to that doesn't work with me very well. And to me, I think that you could have cut out all that part and just did a fantasy movie, because I just feel like it was a waste of an idea and the story just wasn't interesting outside of the fantasy. And I got bored with it. So that's just not my jam. And it's probably, in my opinion, one of his not the best films that Snyder did, even though there is a talk about a Snyder cut for that. But at the same time, if I couldn't get it the first time, a cut is not going to bring me in any further. So the one thing about this film is that the trailer is an illusion of what it is. All right, man. So what else on your list? Do you have something over there that's not good to you, or something you're like, no?
All right, my second choice is also sort of a movie director, but it's not really. In fact, let me give you an example of how these movies go.
Oh, you're gonna like this. It's gonna be pow, pow, pow. Oh, very cool. Bing, bing, bong. Oh, I love it. Pow, pow, boom, 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 boom. What? Oh, sorry, pow, pow, boom, 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 bam. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Okay, perfect. Okay, yeah, great. So
that's a lot of
And
clanging,
if you
buddy.
don't know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Michael Bay's Transformers. The whole Transformers series. Transformers is an American science fiction action film based on Transformers franchise that began back in the 1980s. It's about a group of animatronic robots that one the Decepticons and one was the Autobots and one was the Decepticons, and they battle. The biggest reasons why I chose this movie was, honestly, it's just overrated. This is one of those movies that kept going and going, and they kept releasing it, and it felt like more of a cash grab than it was anything else. There's nothing story-wise that's interesting, and other than just listening to loud robots fight each other. And I already have an issue with watching like big mechs and robots. I'm not a personal fan of like Gundam. This is a movie series that I just don't want to watch again, that I really don't want to discuss.
My opinion on that is I agree. If I had to rewatch it, I can watch the first one and not really care about anything else after that. I think also too that the movie tries too hard to have humans still involved into it, and it almost feels like they hold back the Transformers themselves for the sake of adding human characters in this to make it relatable instead of just what it is. But you always have the 80s Transformers.
Exactly.
And so,
Jeremy, number three.
Speaking of other things that is on Earth that the Transformers had to deal with is the Will Smith and the Jaden Smith movie that is After Earth. That is directed by M. Night Shyamalan, and the plot for that one particularly takes place in the 31st century when Earth has long been abandoned and humans have been conflicted with a mysterious alien race. It tells the story of high-ranking general in peacekeeping organization Ranger Corp and his son, who, after an incident during a space flight, finds themselves fighting for survival at a hostile planet. This movie's boring. What I thought that was going to be an interesting movie that I saw in theaters, it was just not a very good storytelling. Will Smith really just sitting in one place the whole time. The interaction is not good. The characters alone that they were portraying were not fun at all. And I feel like this movie could have been wrapped up way quicker than the length of that movie. And I think it's one of Will Smith's worst movies that he did during that time. And the fact he wrote that story. It is what it is. And I'm a big sci-fi person, so that was disappointing for Will Smith compared to all his other sci-fi movies that he has done.
You know, the good thing about this movie is I haven't seen it.
Good for you.
So I wouldn't know. And I'm glad I won't have to worry about seeing it. Another thing is that it's made by a director that really only had maybe 2 good movies for me personally and just kind of fell off. And that is M. Night Shyamalan. Wow.
Weirdly enough, though, this is the movie I can only think of right now that he did not write and produce. He just directed it. So that's very interesting. Well, then you have Avatar, but I think he wrote Avatar. But anyways.
No.
Last Airbender for the listeners. Sorry. So, sorry.
James Cameron Avatar? What?
Yeah.
So my third choice. Wait. 1, 2, 3. Third choice is Requiem for a Dream. Requiem for a Dream is a 2000 American psychological drama film directed by Darren Aronofsky, Ellen Bernstein, Jared Leto, Jared Leto, the beautiful Jennifer Connelly, and the always funny but not so funny in this movie, Marlon Wayans. It is based in a 1978 novel of the same name by Hubert Shelby Jr., and whom Aronofsky wrote the screenplay. The film depicts four characters who are affected by drug addiction and alters their physical and emotional states. Their addictions cause them basically to go down a rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about me, one of the things that you guys will learn about me and Jeremy knows about me, is that there's a lot of movies and shows that I don't watch because the idea of someone continuously going down a rabbit hole and just the actions that they do, it sometimes becomes unbearable to me because I don't see it happen in my real life that often, and I don't want to. I just don't like seeing a character just go so far in a rabbit hole where they're doing things that they're lying to people that they love, where you're just like, just tell them the truth. This movie was actually a good movie. I watched it for a drug dependency class back college, and I had to do a whole report on it. The only thing is that this movie is pretty jacked up, and it really is just a one-time movie for me. I don't want to revisit it, and I don't want to watch it again.
Same boat. And I realize when it comes to that director, now you know what you get when you watch one of his films, that he really brings a lot of realism and consequences in most of his movies, from The Wrestler to The Black Swan. He's not a bad director or anything. He's just not my cup of tea for those kind of films of someone going down a spiral of disaster one after another. And sometimes it can even burn you out, because it's like, I get it. The whole, like, it can't get worse than this, but it does kind of thing is just like, I get it. This is not fun for me anymore, to the point it's not entertaining. So that's definitely a one time for me. And that ending is so messed up. And it's like, no, that's not a rewatchable moment for me. Good lesson, though.
Absolutely. All right. Jeremy's number 4 pick.
A good lesson that you don't want to be near is Ultraviolet. And Ultraviolet is an interesting movie starring Milla Jovovich. You probably know her from Monster Hunter and Resident Evil especially. And that particular movie is a little confusing. It's set in the dystopian world, and it follows a girl named Violet Sung, Jat Sharif, a woman infected with some kind of like a disease that it's a fictional vampire-like disease. And in the future dystopia, where anyone infected with this contagious disease immediately sentenced to death. With her advanced martial arts skills, a group of rebels and a boy named Six, whose blood may contain the cure for the disease, Violet goes on a mission to overthrow the futuristic government and defeat the corporation that's trying to get them. I took a group with me. The trailer fooled me. I thought it was awesome. I was disappointed. I said that I would pay everybody back for taking them to sit through this horrible film, and people can disagree with me or not, but I think that movie right there showed me that Milla Jovovich is not really good other than just action only, that it just doesn't work for me. That's why she's good in Fifth Element, because she doesn't talk. So the movie's all over the place. It doesn't know what it wants to be. It's not fun. It's not fun. It's a waste of time for anybody that watches it.
You know, in a generation of like Eon Flux on MTV for liquid television, I enjoyed Eon Flux a lot. And we're not even going to talk about the Eon Flux movie, because that would probably be on our next list, but not on this one. Ultraviolet was actually a movie, when I first saw the trailer, I was like, that looks terrible. I didn't really know Jeremy then, so I wasn't a part of this. But if Jeremy wants to refund me like, $10 just cause, I'm game for it. Never seen this movie, never will.
Oh, one last credit though. I think what also fooled me, and I'll leave it at this, is that I thought she was so badass that I thought that would make up for the movie of her badass, but did not. So, yep.
There you go.
What else is not badass over there on your list?
My number 4 pick is Battlefield Baseball. Battlefield Baseball. Battlefield Baseball is a 2003 Japanese film directed by Yuta Yamagaki. This film is written by Jotaro Man. I think that's how you say it. I could be wrong. People, please correct me in the comments below.
Yeah, just down below.
Comments below me. Make sure you add program end on Twitter. It's based on a manga, manga series of the same name. Man, so this film is a combination of several genres. It mixes martial arts action with cliches from the sports film, particularly baseball. A lot of baseball. Not really a lot of actual baseball, but the theme baseball. But it also takes the violence and brutality of a horror film. I wouldn't necessarily go as far as saying this is torture murder porn. This is more of like a campy gore. But it's gained an incredible cult following here in the US. In fact, if you guys want to check it out, because I don't want to talk about it and I don't want to see it again, you can hit on the link below. Because I will have the YouTube link for the movie free for you to watch.
Okay.
Jeremy, this movie, just crazy. Like I made you watch clips of this movie. It breaks out into a musical. There's a reason why it has a cult following. It's one of those bad movies that you'll enjoy, kind of like Sharknado. Mm-hmm. But this movie falls into the one-time only category for me. One time only. It's fun to have fun to watch, just to have fun to watch. But that's it.
It sounds like it's a movie it's fun to watch with a group of people, but never by yourself. Because like watching it, I think that's one of the movies that's just so weird to watch by yourself based on the clip you said. Like, is this really enjoyable for me, or is it enjoyable I'm with people and we're just having fun making fun of it?
Here comes the gore. Here comes the sport. Here comes the musical known as Battlefield Baseball. Before we go into both of our number fives, you do an honorable mention real quick.
My honorable mention for this show is based on a podcast that I do on this network called Bond Never Dies, where me and my buddy Travis explore all the James Bond movies and give you play-by-play of the whole thing and talk about our journey and our opinions on it. Followed by, did they complete the mission right and everything? We have gone from the very beginning of Sean Connery all the way to the newest ones with Daniel Craig. So with that being said, I will never do a James Bond movie on this show. If you want to hear more of my opinion, that's where you go listen to that show. That is called Bond Never Dies. Just FYI, it's only on YouTube right now. So just giving you a heads up on there, and is on our playlist. Am I going first?
Yes, so we're going to go with our final picks of our movies, genres, series that we don't want to discuss. And Jeremy, what is your final pick?
My final one is one of the longest films I ever watched. And even though I liked it at the time, this movie could have been shorter. Actually, it's been cut a couple of times due to that. But I wanted to watch it for what it was at the time, originally was supposed to be. So this movie got cut down to 2 hours. But if you want to watch the full thing about it, it's 3 hours and 49 minutes. And that is Once Upon a Time in America. I am a huge Mafia fan. I love Casino. I love Goodfellas. I love The Untouchables. I mean, name Mafia, I enjoy for what it is. But this one here, it was great at the time, but it's way too long to get to the point of this. For people that don't know, that it is a Sergio Leone film. He's an Italian director. I might butcher his name. I apologize for that. But if you don't know him, he is known for The Good and Bad and the Ugly, I want to say, and A Fistful of Dollars. He's mostly known for the Westerns. He is the Western, spaghetti Western-like director. One of my favorites from him is Once Upon a Time in the West. That was almost 3 hours, but it got the point across. And that's why Once Upon a Time in America should have been cut down a little bit more. It's a chronicle of friends. You got Noodles, you got Max, that are kind of the people leading the group of this Jewish ghetto youth who rise to Jewish gangsters in New York City and organized crime. And this movie does a little bit of everything. It's kind of a coming-of-age story. You know, you get the childhood friendship, love, lust, greed, betrayal, loss, broken relationships, together, rise of a mobster in American society. And it's one of those movies that starts out with you see this old guy, and then through bits and pieces, you go to the flashback, then you come back to the present, flashback to the present, and you're slowly seeing what his main goal in the present is that leads up to that. It's too long. Some movies are great for that long, but for this one here, I think it was just a little bit too slow for me, and I appreciate it for what it was, and I appreciate that I watched it, but it's not a comeback to me. Other movies that are 4 hours long or close to that, I think they're a little bit more entertaining for me. Like, I would take Lawrence of Arabia over this, because at least Lawrence of Arabia, that was a little bit more entertaining, and it was a fun journey compared to this movie. And mafia movies are very slow, so having a 4 hour that, it's too long for its own good. I think 2 hours is a golden number for me personally. Nam?
1 hour and a half for me. In fact, 30-minute episodes. If you can do that for me, I would greatly appreciate that.
No, even for any movie in general?
No, hour in a movie. If you're talking about like a long epic movie, I think I can live with 2.5 hours at the longest range. Though, I mean, Endgame was a good movie, and Endgame was one of those movies that I watched, but it makes it hard for me to go back and watch it again.
Okay.
I think that's the problem with long movies, and it's interesting that you mentioned that. Just because it kind of flows into my final pick of the series. Are we cool with me choosing unraveling the mysteries of my final pick? So, if you want to blame anything for long movies, blame our discussion on the Zack Snyder's Justice League. It has already put us off on anything super long in general. And in this series that I'm about to drop on you guys is a series that is absolutely beloved by everyone. And in fact, I like the movie too as well. Like the series too as well. And it's not Avatar, but we'll save that for another time. Literally, this series is about walking. Just walking. These fictional characters, they just walk. And even the trees, they walk.
Here's the first movie. And here's the second movie. You ready for the third movie?
That is the Lord of the Rings series. The Lord of the Rings series is 3 epic fantasy adventure films directed by Peter Jackson, based on and written by J.R.R. Tolkien. The film, subtitled The Fellowship of the Ring, which was released in 2001, The Two Towers, which were released in 2002, and The Return of the King was released in 2003. I want you guys to repeat the thing that I have put above me. These movies are sofa king long. Then say it really fast.
Not so fast. Loses meaning.
But not too fast, because it loses meaning. But these movies are too long, and this series is too long for me to dedicate that much time of my life anymore to rewatching and having a long discussion, because it will not be a short discussion with Jeremy. I will save the Hobbits off of this one because I got bones to pick with that, but I'm still debating that. But Lord of the Rings, you gone.
So I got questions. I got hands for questions. So,
all right.
My first question upon that is, how long does each movie run for?
If I'm not mistaken, I think each movie runs about 3 hours.
3 hours each.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're not talking about the ultra cut length stuff. We're talking
we're
about
we're
talking about the theater cuts.
I think the director's cut run like 4 hours.
Okay. All right. So why did this not make the cut? I mean, why is this in the cut, but the Star Wars series not? Because Star Wars is very long. It's a long series, right? I mean, you're looking at 9, and that could equal out almost the same amount as Lord of the Rings. So why is that not on the
Star Wars is just a better series.
I said this before at the beginning. I said it before this recording. I said this is going to be an easy conversation or a long one. I don't know. He made it short, so that's it. All right, thanks.
I mean, Star Wars to me, is more action filled, and I think with me, this does have its actions, but it does have its slow moments of just talk. And yes, you're right. Star Wars has this political talk where they just sit there and talk about, well, the council can't do this and the council can't do that, and things like that. Now, if you were to say the new Disney Star Wars series, I tend to agree with you. I would probably not talk about those.
Okay.
But as an entirety, we probably will at some point. But for me, like I think this kind of epic style movie kind of fits along with Avatar. It's a little bit too long and can be a little bit too slow for my liking.
Okay. It is disappointing because I would love to do that as a series talk of Lord of the Rings. Not go down the like the nerd talk of it. Just talk about what about the movie just in general for what it is. But I guess I'll be my conversation with someone else. So
if you guys out there want to hear us talk about any of these movies, and if you guys get enough people to go, yo, we want to hear you talk about these movies, make sure you @Program End on Twitter multiple times and retweet it, and we'll consider it.
okay.
If that's what you guys want, we'll talk about it.
If not, Star Wars all day. Forever. Ever. Yeah, so all right, those are our picks, but what about you? Leave a comment down below.
There you guys have it. That is our list of both of our 5 movies, series, genres that we will not discuss on our show.
Okay.
If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and check out Jeremy's other shows for sure.
Yeah. All right, thank you so much. We'll catch you on our next movie.
Boom.